All right, good day, everyone, and we are back for a UK episode of Dai Good Talk, and we have the lovely Leah
Hi.
and James,
Hey.
right? And they both have Caribbean roots. All right, James is from Barbados, and Leah, you introduce yourself.
Introduce myself. I'm from Tobago, the greatest small island in the world.
The sister isle of Trinidad, yeah. So, I mean, tell us a bit about yourself, and you could do the same right after so that everybody would know who you are, what you do, what you represent, and then we can get into the questions.
So a little bit about me. I have been in the UK for far too long, since 2006 now. I visit home every year, if not twice a year, if I
Right.
can. I work creatively with many of the diaspora home here to help with essentially elevating their creative pursuits. And I've also been working corporately for the last 10 years in operations and business support in the UK. And now I'm here, meeting more people, doing more things.
Yeah, quite a lot under your belt. All right, James.
So I came here when I was 10, grew up in London, went to school, and now I'm in the industry of creative. So I'm a graphic designer, I'm a business owner, and I do events, Caribbean events in London. And yeah, that's me for now.
All right, okay. And I mean, I would have met you in Germany Carnival
Yes.
probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. We linked up there, and I mean, the connection was strong ever since.
True,
Right?
that's
so,
true.
Right, so we want to go into some questions. I'll start with, I'll call the questions out, and then ladies first, and then you.
No worries.
Right? How has your Caribbean heritage shaped your experiences and perspectives while residing in the UK?
That's a big question. I mean, it for me, being Tobagonian shapes everything. And you
Right.
really realize it when you move here. So when I moved here, I went straight into my final 2 years of high school. So I did college here, I did university here, everything like that.
Right.
And I think the first thing you notice is like your sense of tribalism. Especially in Tobago, you have a real sense of tribalism. So yes, everybody's from their own family and their own village and everything, but you move as one when you are out in the world. But when you're in the UK, it's just you alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere you're gonna go. You're not gonna see a cousin nowhere. You're not gonna see an auntie down somewhere. There's no one who knows you. And so I think we have an easier time of actually building communities around us because we naturally have that sense of seeking community and tribalism. And then I've also had a lot of situations which for me have defined things where I'll consider somebody else. It could be something small, a lady in the grocery, an old woman somewhere, or I'll stick up for somebody and people will be like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I'm just like, that's real normal. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be.
I was not going to say normal.
Yeah, like, you know, and that kind of made me realize, like, okay, this is the difference between where I come from and the community here. Is we have that kind of sense of like, your neighbor is actually your responsibility.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that. And then also just being, I have my English ways for sure, but I'm still considered very direct for an English person. But
Right.
if I go home, they don't consider me direct. But here, it's like everything, it's like you're off. It's like, am I? Or am I just telling you the truth and you don't like it? Which one is it? So I think those things kind of shape it for me.
What about you, James?
Give me the question one more time. Yeah.
How has your Caribbean heritage shaped your experiences and perspectives while residing in the UK?
Yeah, so for me, it's given me a sense of calmness that I brought here to the UK. Because the UK is very fast paced, everything's a lot different.
Yeah.
Back home is very laid back, very chilled, and I had to really get used to that kind of experience. And one thing I always take forward with me going in stuff that I do all the time is that kind of step back, relax, stay chilled.
Yeah.
And just take it a little bit slow because this London is very, very, very fast paced, and it's just
It's
gotta
true.
be.
You can get caught up in it real quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go home, and everything's so slow, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, hurry up, man. You're like, oh my God, wait. It's okay to slow right down. Yeah, that's true.
So you would say back at home in the Caribbean, I'd say we have a more laid back type culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I would have resided up in the UK around my teenage years for about 2 years. And everyone knows I'm an avid traveler. So what I've noticed from that point in time to now is that London per se has a heavy Caribbean culture. And you see, I've noticed that the Caribbeans, they tend to stick together. Like you see about 4 or 5 of them, and they know each other, and they may not be from the same island, but they're from Guyana or Barbados, and they consider themselves as one at the end of the day. That's what I've noticed, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always good to see that, because you might you might just be somewhere talking and somebody say, where you from? Because like I was in Leeds 2 days ago, went to McDonald's, and the security officer there heard me talking on the phone. I was like, you from Trini, man? And it was an instant connection there immediately. So, I mean, that's for me, that's what I've noticed. And I mean, it's something that I always feel warm about when I come here, right?
So it's a nice feeling when you hear your accent.
When somebody makes out your accent,
Yes.
yeah. It's like, where you from? And then you get that whole conversation flowing from there. Number 2. What specific challenges and opportunities have you encountered as Caribbean expatriates in the bustling city of London?
I think for me, this is such a small thing, but it's kind of a day-to-day thing, but it's like manners. That comes up for me a lot, especially, I'm more desensitized to it now, but when I first started living in London in particular, and I'd only been in the UK in total for about 3-4 years at that time. And I just used to get vexed every minute, because it's like, you're pushing me, you're dragging me here, and there's no please, no thank you, no acknowledgement of like, I will go out of my way to like make a way for people or something, and they just walk past me like I get paid to do that.
Yeah, it's true.
This wasn't a free action. This is me like doing my part in the community. Again, it goes back to this sense of community thing. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, even though it might not relate directly to the question, that for me is actually the hardest thing, is manners.
I would agree with you too, because like even when I go back, it's kind of weird seeing it. I go into a shop, I'll go anywhere, and they say good morning. And when I come back here and I do the same, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm back. And I'm like, I have to go back to that way of just not saying anything, not even acknowledging anyone, just carrying on.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the Caribbean, good morning, how are you? Like any shop you're going to, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
That was one of my biggest lessons when I first moved, because I was only 14, 15. So I came from Tobago, where if I didn't say good morning to somebody on the road, they will call my parents. Yes. You know, they'll pass me, and she couldn't even acknowledge me. So I would move here, and I say, good morning. And they'd be looking at me like, are you okay?
Okay, yeah.
Why are you talking to strangers? Don't acknowledge me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it served me well, because like my English friends would tell you, they could leave me on the side of the street and come back and I got her real friends. And it's because of that, because I will say good morning and go out of my way to acknowledge people here still.
Yeah.
Because that to me is how we keep our culture right here. Is
I
still
would
say
definitely
good morning,
agree.
still have manners, still
Yeah.
pushing those little things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that was a big culture shock for me as well when I came. And I mean, all these first world countries, America, UK, like, good morning, like people like,
Yeah.
Because someone also told me you don't say like good night unless you're saying goodbye.
People here only use good night when they're like saying good night to their child,
yeah.
like to put them to bed.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still say good night.
Yeah.
But it goes over most people's head.
Yeah, good night,
yeah.
good evening, because it's like, oh, it's not evening yet, or it's not, so
Yeah.
it's very weird.
Yeah.
All right, okay. What about you, James?
No, that
You share the same sentiment?
That's the same one. Like the whole
okay.
morning thing is me, because that was a
And just
big
in
shock.
general, I always this used to get me in my workplace real plenty. You see how we have this thing the Caribbean, if you walk into a room, even though you don't know nobody, enter a room.
Yeah. Acknowledge everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo, in my work office, because I used to work in HR as well. So I would make it like a rule in my business that like if you walk into a meeting room or space and there's another body in there, you need to acknowledge that body. Because that would have me at work like grinding my teeth because I used to get so annoyed. Like, how can you pass in and out of my office and just not say hello to me? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, little things like that.
Could you recount a memorable anecdote or event that vividly showcases the intersection of Caribbean and British cultures in your day-to-day life?
Oh gosh, a memory event that I think the last one for me would have had to be, again, most of my personal life I've created my community around me. So I don't have too much clashing now. But back when I was working corporately, we had a reason to do an event. We did a barbecue, and it was my role, it was my job. I said, I'll do the barbecue, I'll take it under me. And they said, okay, great. And so I planned a barbecue the way I know how to plan a barbecue. So when they turned up and I had food and drinks and more than one type of meat and plenty sides and an open grill and games, they were like, oh, we thought you were just gonna have burgers on the grass. And I was like, no, if you tell me to put on a barbecue, it will have rum, it will have meat,
It must have rum,
and it will have music. I don't know how else to do it. And they loved this to me was a simple barbecue. They loved it so much they made it like a yearly annual summer thing for the company. And they still do it now, even though I'm not with the company anymore. But I remember that day sitting back and thinking, like, life must be real boring back when you all were kids if this wasn't what you were expecting for a barbecue as a standard sort of thing. And definitely things with food. Going to parties and getting like chips and dips when I was expecting proper food.
Yes.
Let me ask this question though, because I've noticed it, and my cousin he has Trini parents, but he's never been to Trinidad. When you guys eating any type of fast food, what are the condiments you use?
Me?
Yeah.
Ketchup and mustard.
Ketchup and mustard. That's the
I would
mayo.
use garlic sauce, but they don't have any. They don't do it.
Yeah. This is
So ketchup and mustard, garlic sauce.
I would say ketchup and mayonnaise and garlic if they have it.
How can
Say what you're gonna say. Say what you're gonna say. Because I think we are reading. I'm reading your
how
mind.
can you have my mayonnaise, but it's garlic or it's nothing? It's not it's no mayonnaise. It's either you have garlic sauce or nothing. There's no in between.
But really,
Mayonnaise is a binder. It's not a condiment in my humble.
It's not a condiment to me as well.
Yeah.
And for me, in the Caribbean, like you cannot. I don't know anyone from the Caribbean in Trinidad who eats KFC or any fast food with mayonnaise.
That's the thing. When I'm here, that's what I eat because there's no other option. So, and when you say bind it, so I would mix the mayo with the ketchup and add a bit of pepper.
Pink sauce?
Yeah, add some pepper in there, and you should give it a try. You never
You
know.
should do that. You should go back to Barbados and do that one to see.
Yeah, they'll look at you like you're crazy.
But that's the thing. I don't do it in Barbados because they give me good sauces in the Caribbean.
Well, that's true.
Whereas
The one
here,
thing
I
that
have
you
to
can-
make my own things.
Whoever in Trinidad can bottle garlic sauce and bring it here, they have a multi-million-pound business.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Okay. Give me an idea. There.
I make for Christmas, but even me, I can't get my garlic sauce the way. I don't know how to. But you know how they do it, like by the gyro guys back home.
Yeah.
I can't get it with that tang just quite right.
You gotta go back home and import it and bring it back.
Maybe.
What about you, James? Could you recount a memorable anecdote or event that vividly showcases the intersection of Caribbean and British cultures in your day-to-day life?
So in my day-to-day life, I would say, going back from when I was small, my church used to do this international Caribbean.
That's over here?
Yeah, over here. Food fair. And it's been going on for years and years.
Yeah, I went to one of those, yeah.
They have people from Antigua, they have from Montserrat, and what I loved about that is I was able to taste different cultures, different foods, and for me that was my bridge between still getting that Caribbean feeling and getting a bit of London, because obviously they had fish and chips and they had people with cake and tea and coffee and stuff and that kind of thing. But I was still able to get that nice Caribbean food and taste other dishes, which I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's good. Balancing your Caribbean identity with a diverse culture of London can be complex. So how do you manage this delicate equilibrium?
Good question.
That's a very loaded question. I don't think I could give a generalized answer for that. For me, it's very specific to sense of self. I've had a hard time balancing it.
Right.
I moved here when I was a young teen, so I did into my adulthood. And,
Yeah.
I'm now 30, so it's a significant periods of change. And that whole time, I've been going home, and I have all my peers who are also growing up and doing their thing back home as well. And I don't think I've done a great job at finding the balance. It's like, you're gonna take me how I come. I think my biggest assimilation, honestly, has been my accent.
Yeah.
That is, for me, I had a hard time when I first moved with my natural personality, and then on top of that, the accent. They were like, yeah, it's a lot. So I think my brain started to speak more English, so at least I could fit in more that way. It wasn't like a conscious decision.
It just came naturally.
Came naturally because I was trying to get by with like teachers and colleagues and everything. And you know what it is to be giving like a picture or presentation and they're going, excuse, every 5 minutes, and you
have to repeat yourself.
You're not even in the hard part yet of and we have a tendency, we talk really fast.
Yes.
Had to learn how to slow down. That my tone. Oh, Sarah's upset because you told her to wait. All I did is tell Sarah to wait, But because I said, well, wait now. Sarah's upset. Her feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
So that has actually been really difficult for me. And then going home has been my saving grace, because I got home and
you could be normal.
And I could be normal.
But I'm sure when you go home, your accent and the way you speak just comes back naturally.
Within a week, it starts coming back, and then everyone's like, you're in that weird place where you're half English 1 minute and you're going Real Tobago the next minute. And I'm country Tobago as well, so it's a big mental change.
Yeah.
For the flip, I think you've heard it a few times.
Yes.
It makes its way when it's ready. It's a weird thing, but I think that's my way of sort of balancing. Is to maintain my true spirit, but just find a way to like appear like I'm trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's something similar to you, is going back home a lot. So I go back home nearly every year as well, and it's just going back home, experiencing the culture, and then even bringing back some of those ideas back from going to events and going to different restaurants and seeing different things.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it back here and try to imitate that in events as well, and life. And even in the workplace, it's just like even stepping back and relaxing. And when everyone's panicking, I'm there like, yeah, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's it.
I noticed the two of you mentioned about going back home. It seemed very frequent, right? I know a lot of people who would have migrated and they don't go back home.
Yeah.
How y'all feel about it? Why is it that you guys go back home so regularly? And why do you think other persons who may have migrated don't?
I think there's so many reasons for that. I know for me, when I first moved, I didn't go home for 5 years.
Right.
And then I went and I was like, I'll never let so much pass time before I go home, because I didn't realize what my soul was missing. You need to feed your roots. No matter how far you go, you always had a return home, right? And I realized after 5 years, I was like, oh, wow, you were doing yourself a disservice by staying away so long, because who you are is intrinsically Tobagonian. But I know for friends I've met along the way who haven't traveled home for 10 years, for them, it's a combination of things. For instance, if you leave as a child, right, and you were there with in your mother's house or your family's home, you might want to come back in your 30s, and that home no longer has room for you. And now, it's not, everyone thinks, oh, well, you're from Trinidad, so you have accommodation, or you have transport, or you have this and that. And it's like, well, not for everyone. Some people have to maintain their entire life here. So the idea of going home and then also having to maintain accommodation, food, transport for that whole time they would be home is not something that they can do. And then the years, months turn into years. You have children, which makes it harder still. But I know for most of my friends as well, who haven't been home for a long time, they kind of lost. So I have a friend whose name I can't call, but he hadn't been home for 7 years. And I would always be in his ear like, dog, you have to go home. This is crazy. He finally went last year for Carnival and he literally called me and he was like, I cried when I came off the plane. He said, I didn't realize. He said, what you were telling me about, you don't realize what you're missing until you do it. But same thing for him. He was just so caught up in trying to do what he's here to do that it just felt like a vacation when going home isn't a vacation. It's feeding your soul, which is a whole different thing all of its own. But I think a lot of people don't have that connection. A lot of people don't have, like, I'm still really lucky. My mom, dad's, and both my sister and my brothers, my whole family lives in Tobago. So when I go home, I have a place to stay, I have food, I have transport. I don't have to worry about those things. But that's not the same for everybody.
Yeah, correct. I think so too, because I have a very, very big family back home in Barbados. So that's the reason why I go back a lot. And every time I go back, we always do like a family picnic or family dinner, just something. So I get to know
Memories.
the newborns coming up.
Yeah.
And they all know about me, although I don't even live back home. That kind of connection, and we keep in contact in WhatsApp and in various ways.
And I think for me and you, our larger families are actually home.
Back home, yeah.
Whereas most of their families are here. So even that kind of stops them from feeling the need to return back home as much because they have their families more close than we do. In that sense, like they're wider. Me and James want to go to a family event, we have to go back to our respective countries to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. When it comes to relationships, which elements of Caribbean values and traditions do you incorporate into your interactions with others in the UK? So it doesn't have to be the conventional dating relationship, but more with peers, colleagues, that type of thing.
I think pretty much how I am is just sort of very like that. I don't know how to say it. I guess I always say when I meet new friends or even with my colleagues, my relationships, I'm very much like, if I carry you somewhere, I'm bringing you back. That's how I roll.
You're making sure you reach home safe.
That's not how
text
it
me
necessarily...
when you get home, or call me when you get home.
Big on that. If you don't
every
text me when
time.
you get home, I'll be calling you. I don't care if it's 4 in the morning. I'm calling you until you answer.
Yeah.
And I'm very big on that. And that was, I think, a shocking thing for me when I moved here. Was this kind of like...
It is what it is.
It is what it is. You go somewhere with people and it's like you're not really there with them because they're not... It's like you could have gone by yourself. You would have been in the same position, the way that it feels. And so I think for me, like, I make my dynamics when I make new friends, new dating. I'm very clear on like, I say what I mean and I mean what I say. So if I invite you somewhere, I'm very happy to go by myself. So like, if I invited you, that in itself represents something, and it's
check for them.
Don't take it for granted kind of thing. Because I think that can happen with like the network culture of London very easily. I think that's important. And I also think for me, when it comes to romantic relationships, it's like my male relationships are equally as important to me as my female relationships. Because I feel like in the West Indies, we have real mixed sex friendships and platonic friendships. Whereas in the UK, it's like girls have their girl group, guys have their boys group. Whereas my friends are a mixed sex group. My closest friends are all different genders, right? So that's something I found weird when if I'm telling like a boyfriend, like, oh, I'm going to meet James for lunch. We're just going to chill. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I go online with James. There's no, I don't know how else to describe it. That's just what it is. So I try and make that very clear because that could get on my nerves a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, dating relationships for me, well, Good question. It's mostly just showing people I am who I am. And
you can be more than one thing, right? I think there's
that
this
is true.
idea if you're Bayesian or you're Trinidadian or Jamaican, or because there's so much, like you said, it's a real melting pot up here for different nationalities, and they all get kind of marked with these individual labels of the type of personality that you're going to be if you're from X, Y, Z place. When James can be the guy in the Fed who running all over the place and
that's
swinging
the
off
James I know.
walls and
it's true.
yeah, exactly. And then he can also be, the brains behind a really seamless event, and also be the brains behind the graphics of one of the biggest bands.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. And I think sometimes it can be kind of hard to like show up and not have people saying, "Oh, I saw you in a Fed, so that's all that you are."
Yeah.
I get
not
that.
allow you to kind of break away from
Yeah.
you can be like I could
Something
be loud.
else.
You could see me whining in a fair, and you can also see me in a boardroom and
Yeah.
And we get that kind of multifacetedness that's hard to like for people to grasp.
Yeah, I would agree too, because literally everyone just thought I was just a partier and
Yeah.
fetter.
Yeah.
They didn't even know I did other things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of this, that what I showed.
Well, that's
a
just
lot.
what you chose to show
Yeah.
on your socials, which is what socials is for. I think people forget it's like just your highlight reel.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like that's where you find the most fun.
Yeah, and I just
Correct.
share what is fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like I don't share any of the stuff I do online because corporate has taught me to keep a separation between your personal.
And then you're in HR,
business
so
plan.
yeah. You understand the dynamics totally.
Yeah, exactly.
You get judged from your social media.
straight away, real hard. So I tread very carefully with that. Like, if I have any businesses, I don't attach them to my personal brand at all. You would never know Leah runs Cookies and Co. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
well, I think I found it a little bit different when I linked the two. I got-
It's perspective.
yeah,
Yeah, it's perspective.
yeah.
I was like that. I had her concept and things, partially because of the corporate aspect, and being in the Caribbean, you could be judged very easily.
Anything.
Yeah. Right? And it took me a while to get out of that thinking and that mindset. And I think, I don't know, disrespect to you, I understand how
Yeah,
you...
I do understand it too.
Right? But for me, like, I felt like there are things you could still not do, but there are things that you need to be yourself and let people like that side of you. So something small, right? I had dyed my hair, right? Before this, I had it blonde. And I remember immediately after it was blonde, the responses were, "What you do with your hair, boy? What's going on with you?" That was the responses immediately.
Yeah.
And the next
Something
day,
as simple as dyeing your hair.
so, exactly. And the next day, I went to America, and as soon as I reached in America, "I love your hair." That's it. And I kept getting that exact same phrase in different places that I went to. And it just shows you the perspective of culture, right? Caribbean, very judgmental. The first world countries are more open to different things. They accept things. So those are little small things that I notice and realize, and comparing the two. And I think it can keep creatives and general people in a bubble if you don't have a strong mindset to get out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I have friends who are suffering with that same thing, who are working back home, and they keep telling me, well, the pool in Tobago is so limited for that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not tied to Tobago alone, It has
Yeah.
all of the West, and you just have to put yourself out
Out
there
there.
doing what it is that you want to do, and the rest will follow people who... But I think things are changing with our generation as well. Like, I find home, we were kind of having this conversation before we started filming. I think the levels of open-mindedness, specifically back home, are getting a lot better because our generation is now moving into positions of power
Right.
and slightly more open-minded. I had a friend with tattoos who met a guy at immigration, and normally that would 10 years ago, he would have spent an hour extra in immigration just off for this because he's really neck.
Yeah.
Full. And it's he's the guy was telling me about my tattoos and he's saying he likes them and stuff like that. I was what? In Trinidad immigration, he was telling you he likes your tattoo. He was yeah. I was that's times are changing slowly but surely, So yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to see more change. What words of wisdom would you offer to fellow Caribbean expats in London embarking in their entrepreneurial journeys or starting their own ventures?
Okay, let me get a little deep. a little bit. I think if you are coming as a young person from the West Indies to do anything in the UK, anything,
right?
Whether it's a practical brick and mortar business or whether you want to be a creative, whatever, just trying to remember it is not your job to fit in here. You're here to pave a way. That is your purpose. It's to pave a way in bringing your authenticity, and your authenticity is where you are from. It is what sets you apart. It's very easy when you are back home and everyone looks the same and talks the same and feels the same to feel like that doesn't contribute to what makes you special, but it does. And it shows up when you come here and to do whatever you do. How we think and process and perceive the world from our little islands gives you actually a massive advantage when you reach over here and just remember you are here to set pace, not to follow. And I think it's create an avenue for those coming in behind you to be able to build authentic roots off of, because it's not, we're past the generations of Windrush and everything where our parents have been here for years now. We are now the adults here who are having children here. So the businesses we create and the communities our generation are creating now are what is going to make the Black British diaspora. And the elements of our culture that we choose to really ingrain and hold on tight to are what's going to be what the fellow Trinis who have never grown up in Trinidad know how to identify themselves as different from a St. Lucian or different from a Jamaican or different from a Guyanese. And so that would be my only thing, is just remember when you come, it's so easy, I had to be like this London person or fit into London, or, I have to talk like them or walk like them or be polite. You don't have to do any of that.
It should be polite though.
Yeah. Have manners, Have manners. But set pace. Don't worry, just follow pace so much. That would be something I wish I did more of, but I was also a lot younger.
Yeah, I would agree. Bring your culture with you. They like it. Everyone likes it. And they always say to me, "Oh, I like your accent," or "I like your blah blah blah." Speak. You know? And also, I would say, tap into the communities that are already here already. Try and if you decide to do any kind of business, tap into your culture, tap into the people in the business, and just put yourself out there. That's something that I did when I started graphic design. I would go to my uncles and aunts who have had a business, and I would design your blah blah blah, and
I feel like we're a lot more supportive of our own coming in.
Yes.
When we're up here.
Than when we're home.
When we're home. Yeah.
They're very, very open.
Yeah.
And they were they would
I'll
pay.
trek halfway across London to go support somebody from Tobago who's doing something. But when I'm in Tobago, I don't even want to go 20 minutes down the road. So
I think you get that Caribbean spirit in you when you reach back home.
Exactly.
Really, we went to some food tasting.
Triniting and Pop Brixton.
And we travel places to sample our culture in wherever it is.
That's support.
Yeah, even going to that's where I met you in Germany. Going to Germany, going to Switzerland, it's a big thing. And I love it. I love to see how people interpret our culture and blend it with their culture, which was really, really good. I saw in Germany and in Switzerland and stuff. So I would say bring your culture and get involved. and speak to your embassies and, you know,
Yeah,
like
and
really.
remember, it's your advantage, not your disadvantage. I know so many people home feel like being home is the disadvantage when we could argue about that all day, but nonetheless, the fact of where you're from and where you're coming from, when you reach it, that is actually a stronghold in your pocket, not something to throw away. My other advice would be just don't come.
Don't come.
Just don't come. It's not worth it. Just don't do it. If you can find a way to get a little slice of the pie at home for yourself.
Right. But you don't think that pie gonna be very small, girl?
It have plenty of pie for everybody, you know. There's enough for all. And also, I think we have this thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just my perspective, but all my entrepreneurial friends, when I talk to them, they seem very locked into like Trinidad or Miami. And I'm like, but what about... There are a lot of islands doing really well. Like Antigua is doing pretty well. Bahamas are doing pretty well. Like you
could go regional.
We could go regional. We don't always have to go west. Like, or you could also do both. But I don't know. Maybe I'll find out more why people sort of tend to lean in a more west way when they make.
I think it's because going back to like slavery times, those were the roots that, you know, from a long time ago, those were the routes that we had, like coming over here from the Caribbean into London, going to, because I have family in America and in different places in London and Germany. It's just those were the routes that we took
already traveled.
Yeah,
So
and
I think we're making a mistake.
I agree.
Yeah.
We can go anywhere in the world and still make a big difference.
Yeah, and also if you look, a lot of the wealthy in the world are moving out of the West in mass proportions, and they are buying up the West Indies like nobody's business, and they're not building yet, but they will, and they're doing that with good reason.
For me, as a business owner, I would say what annoys me is that our currency at home, we have to multiply so much when you traveling, right? My thinking is if I can do what I do back home in an international country, I think I would reach further than where I currently am, because the dollar value obviously is totally different. And I mean, we could go up, this could turn into a long conversation. But I personally do think where I am in business now, if I did this abroad, it doesn't have to be America, it doesn't have to be London, it could be somewhere where the dollar actually has some strong value. I think I could have been much further. That's how I feel, right? I feel like back home, there's not much structure for many things, whether it's banking, whether it's the real estate market, the stock markets, all these things I feel like they are not structured in the right way to really be for the people for the basic people, I would say, of the island.
Yeah.
I think it's manipulated heavily for the people at the top.
Yeah, I think
right?
I agree. I think that is why there's no structure. But I also think, you know, if you were to move your business to London just for the sake of like a hypothetical conversation, yes, the value of your dollar would increase, but the cost of your business would increase greatly as well.
Yeah. You have to look at all different variables.
Yeah, because the structure that's lacking in Trinidad goes both ways. It hits the employees and the employers across the board.
Yeah, as funny as you mentioned, even the employees and employers. So, like, for instance, I'm sure you guys coming from the Caribbean, you'll have friends like this as well. I have many friends who would like to travel, but they can't travel because their jobs, the pay is not allowing it. And I mean,
true.
Simple as look at you guys, right?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about you, but James always in some country
Yeah.
for carnival,
Yeah.
right? And there are many people who would like to do those things. That's fun, that's enjoyment, but their financial standings not allowing them to do that, and that's a lot to do with the dollar value. You may do a basic office job. Nice example. I would have met someone who works in the Apple store in Miami, and we were talking, and she's telling me how many vacations she has already taken for the year.
But you see,
And as a regular sales job, you know.
no, I see. I think there's a misconception with this, because I have this conversation often, and people say, "Well, yeah, but look how much you're traveling," and I think people back home don't have access to credit.
Right. Okay.
We do.
Right. Okay.
And
Fair
we
enough.
just be using
We
that.
use that credit.
Okay, I know, not me, but I know plenty of people who have 10K credit cards and they go to carnival after carnival and they pay an X amount every month to make sure their credit card is paid. And they rotate. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
That is
yeah, yeah.
what it is for. That is what it's for. It's up to you
How
to
you want to
your
use
discretion.
it.
Once you pay in your bill, it's not my business, right?
That's true.
I also know people like me, for instance. I have a trip in a month. I put that on a credit card 6 months ago. I paid it off.
Right.
But it allowed me the freedom to know where I'm going.
Yeah. And you
know
know
what
you're
I
planning
mean?
from early.
Like my friend's home, who got a credit card. You know they had to put money on their own credit card to get a credit card. So it's not a credit card; it's a long-term debit card.
That's in Trini, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how
That's
that's how
not
I got
a
my
credit
first
card.
credit card. I got my first credit card like that. Yeah, that's not a credit card.
Extended. So it's a when you want it debit card. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Pay as you go.
Pay as you go,
Debit
yep.
card. So my friend had a trip. She's coming from Tobago. She's coming up. She was doing Sweden, London. She wanted to travel. She's had her money. But you can't just go taking your tea. It doesn't work like that, right? So she's like, okay, I'll be a grown up. I'll get a credit card. And when she's telling me about it, I'm like, that's literally not what a credit card is. This makes no sense that you have to give them $15,000.
No, but
in order
that's
to access
you see.
$15,000.
No, you see, that is the average person's debacle.
Situation.
Yeah.
So that's when I say I think the misconception is sometimes you look at me or James or whoever. We don't know anybody's particular financial situation, but if we're being honest, most people here are doing their extracurricular activities via credit because it's manageable and they can pay it. I don't have 10 grand a year to spend on trips, but what I do have is a credit card with a 10 grand a year limit that I can put my trips on and then responsibly pay them
Pay it
off.
back, yeah.
And so I think that's kind of a small misconception that has been going on, is like that the money we're earning here stretches further to allow us more freedoms when it really doesn't. Most of my circle are in their 30s and most of us are month to month, not because we don't earn well, but because it's just expensive as well.
Right.
Rent is expensive.
Yep.
Eating out is expensive, clothing is expensive, travel is expensive. And again, we get to go home to places where we have free accommodation. Like, when's the last time you see me on a vacation where I wasn't staying with a friend or staying somewhere with like some kind of link?
Yeah.
Well, that is true. Even going to Germany and stuff. For me, it's the same thing. I went to stay with friends and stuff. So even when I'm traveling to these other places,
You have your links.
I have my links.
Yeah. To offset costs. Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't think I've ever paid for a carnival all the way outright. Like, for me, if I reach carnival day and the bills are all paid off, I feel like, I made it. I figured out this year. But there's been carnivals where it's like 2 months carnival finish and I still pay in this carnival. You know how painful that is? Like, oh my God, it's done. Like, be done with it. But, otherwise you would just... And I think that's the other thing is people don't have good credit. I know some people who messed up their credit and now they can't move. They can't go anywhere because they just don't have access to that extra money anymore, So, I don't know. Each to their own, I guess.
Could you share a triumphant career or business milestone that mirrors your path as a Caribbean professional in the UK?
I feel like there's no one for you, my friend.
Well, for me, it was when I first started to do events, and I did my first Fantasy London last year. That for me was
That's a carnival band?
no, it's an event. So I brought over artists from Barbados.
Oh, okay.
Led Pep and Sadis, and then I did a performance. We had like Caribbean food from French. No, it was French Caribbean food.
Bouquet
Yes,
Place?
we had French Caribbean food on the show. We had loads of different things, music playing, all kind of thing. It was really, really nice. And then this year again, we did another one. So it's like a yearly thing.
Oh, so it turned into a yearly thing now?
Yeah, it turned into a yearly thing.
Right,
And
okay.
This year it was Arabian Nights was the theme. And planning more things for the rest of the year. So yeah, for me, that's one of the big milestones. And having my first section this year was another one.
For
for
Carnival.
Notting Hill Carnival.
Okay.
Is this your first section you had this year? Didn't you have one last year?
So this is the first time I completely like owned the whole section. Last year it was a collaborative.
He has had two sections.
Yeah.
I had two sections, but one.
He's powered two sections.
Yes, I powered two sections,
Yeah.
but this is the first year I powered it by myself.
Yeah, he got independent.
Yeah.
Cut out the middleman.
Yes.
So you'll be on your third for 2024.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very exciting.
I'll come to the event. I won't do the carnival one, but I'll come to one of the events. The next one they having. When is that?
In December.
December?
The 10th of December.
Well, I'm supposed to be back
I remember
for
you said.
December. Yeah.
Come around that time.
Yeah. All right.
It's looking good.
You like the cold?
I that is one thing I miss about living in the UK. Funny. Like I liked the cool. You understand? Like I remember when I was going to school, I used to have like all these layers underneath. When I go out, sometimes I have on like two pants underneath, and I looking big with the hoodie, jersey underneath, and I like that. I like the feeling, like your fingertips burning. I just like that. You understand? But I know there are many people who can't stand it. But it was just something as a young person coming from the Caribbean and you never experienced that. Yeah, I liked it. To say I've only experienced like actual snow in America. I mean, from what I've seen here, it's just slush.
They have it's mostly slush.
Yeah.
There are sometimes where it's for real snows, but it's mostly slush.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like stay snowy for long.
Nah.
It melts quickly.
Yeah. Now, the coldest I've ever been, what I would say, is in New York around at Christmas time. So it was, I didn't experience that here, but I remember I was driving with someone, and then when we parked, they had like this rake to take ice off of the back the back glass and the front glass, and I was like, first time I seen that, because I've never. I mean, do you all do that in the UK too? I never even observed that.
We do it.
But I never observed that probably at that young age. But I was it gets so cold here, boy. You understand? But experience. I like the cold.
I'm not a fan.
I like the snow, but when it turns to ice, it's been.
Do you?
Yeah.
I remember the first time it snowed when I moved here, and all the kids ran out into the street to just start playing, and I was looking from the living room why would I go and pick up this and just be throwing it around? I couldn't understand why people would do this to themselves. I took up the role of just bringing hot chocolate to everybody from inside. I was not.
And that motherly love.
Yeah, and to me it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. It will get you sick. It's dirty.
Yeah.
You ever slipped?
Nah,
You
nah,
just need
never.
to slip one good time.
And I wouldn't like it again.
Bust your head, you wouldn't like it again. Because that has happened to me. Snow is dangerous. You can really hurt yourself. Yeah.
I think that's what I said. Is the ice that's dangerous that I don't like. The snow is okay.
But the snow turns into ice because snow that
Yes,
doesn't
that's
melt gets trodden on and it compacts and becomes
Ice.
Yeah, that's
dangerous, slippery ice.
slipped a couple of times there, so I know you're feeling.
Okay. What about you?
What about me with what's the question
The
again?
triumphant.
Honestly, I kind of keep the two a bit separate. Corporately, I've not massively infused my culture with my work. The most I tell them is that every August and February they wouldn't be seeing me, and so they know that much. But
Yeah.
I let them know I'm a carnivalista. I let them know about the carnival culture. But corporately, I never shared much. And then separately, in a more entrepreneurial sense, I've done events before. I did an event back in 2015, which we don't do anymore, called Sweet Lime. And those, I wanted a real Tobago feel.
I think I heard that name before.
Sweet Lime?
Sweet Lime, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I think that's probably around after the Germany when we met up. I think I saw that the name.
Before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said that was a backyard event. That was big. That was very important to me because I'd been here for a while. I'd been going to so many events, and I was like, these are all rubbish. And all let us try too hard, and we just
You gotta show them how to do it.
Yeah, we just need a outside with a galvanized roof, and you get some games, and I've got dominoes, and
Right.
made it like
A proper
if you've
backyard
been
jam.
Sunday
Yeah,
school
yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
vibes,
yeah,
that was the vibe.
yeah.
Sunday school was the vibe, and when I tell you that had such good reviews from people, And we haven't brought that back yet, but I think we will soon.
I think you should, because that's one of the things I miss going back. Because remember I said earlier about going back home. That's what we did. Play dominoes, play cards, and play loads of games, and just experiencing that.
Roti selling, double selling. I had a lady, when I say a lady, she was a friend of a friend's auntie who could well cook akra. And so she came and we were giving away that for free. And it was just it was one of those events, when things just start real cool and chill, but by the end of the night,
wassiness.
and it was one of those. It was so. I think for me, that I remember looking down from the DJ booth and thinking to myself,
damn, I did this.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
This is how it's supposed to be. Yeah, you bought a little piece of Tobago to the UK.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. That was a good feeling.
That's good. It's always good to be able to bring the culture at home, because I've seen so much when I travel. I see so much people from the Caribbean, and the ones who would, who would have fun, because the culture is so different here. Where on a Friday in Trinidad, it's lime.
Yeah.
I can't do that here. Not everybody up to doing it here.
Not everybody even knows what that feels like.
Yeah.
They didn't. We just lime young to it. Start real early. And a lot of people here I realized, as what I like to call an authentic West Indian, a lot of people here never really lime, you never left to lime after work, and now it's 4 a.m. and kind of looking to leave. You ain't even reach home yet.
Yeah.
You're looking to leave where you are. Shit, it's really work I have tomorrow again, so I don't know. I have lined with fellas who working on the airport. It's 6 a.m. They know they have work at 8 o'clock. They know business. I don't think people here are used to liming where the actual vibes got you so good.
Mm-hmm. You can't leave.
You can't leave. It just wouldn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna rest tomorrow. It'll be all right, I don't think a lot of people here have that, so they don't know. They don't even know how to seek that out to say what they're looking for. What they're missing.
Yeah.
Until you come home or you line with somebody who really.
And then you'll see that, because you come with a lot of foreigners as well, and I'm sure they conform into that party till 4 a.m, and I'm sure that they can't finish talk about how much fun they had.
They had, I think the first time we went all together was to Trinidad. And they were doing that, getting home late and waking up early, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is pace, it's good, and they were really enjoying it. That we went again next year, so it's a great feeling. For me, although I'm a Bayesian, it's good to tap into different cultures and let people experience different things. So going to Trinidad was one of my top things, and I was able to do it.
So what do you find most nostalgic about the Caribbean while residing in London?
What do I find nostalgic, boy?
I think for me, it's just, although we're from different islands, I feel a sense of community when it comes to the Caribbean, like Trinidad. I have loads of Trinidad friends, Antiguan friends, Jamaican friends. Everyone just comes together. When we're in London, we come together. And it doesn't matter what island you're from, you are all one. And for me, that feeling is, I love to keep that. And I even love seeing it when I go to different events and different places.
Yeah. I think I seek that out in Notting Hill. I get it from my Notting Hill, but not even so much the actual day on the road. It's everything that happens around Notting Hill. It's that little 4-day run up from that Wednesday night onto the Monday. And so you know how it is. You both would know. You're home for Carnival. Not even for Carnival. It could just be for the summer, whatever, right? And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're likely going to see the same few people wherever you're going around Avenue, wherever it may be. Notting Hill, Carnival Week, is the only time in the UK where you're going to get that. Where I have friends from Berlin, Guadeloupe, they're from Guadeloupe, but they don't live there. They live Zurich, that's where all over Europe. And I see them every Notting Hill season. I don't message them, we don't talk, I just know one of the events I go to,
you're going to see them.
I'm going to see them. And that is that for me is a nostalgia that I look forward to. It's also the Juve morning, the one time I don't see none of these girls for the whole year. Sunday morning, 6 a.m. I will see you all here. We'll be tying each other into our things, and we're heading on the road together. That is where I kind of get my nostalgia. And then also the amount of plants I keep in my house is a kind of a nostalgia thing for me, because that's a real thing I got from my granny. It's just like plants in my house. If my balcony wasn't so high, my balcony would be a jungle with plants. So yeah, that for me is how I kind of keep close. And cooking, plenty.
So you cook a lot of...
Yeah, you gotta cook your own food to feel full.
What's your favorite dish?
Me?
Yeah.
It has to be stew pork and dumpling. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, well, as a Bajan dish is flying fish and kuku, or flying fish and anything, basically.
Can't go wrong. But you know, flying fish is also, it's our flying fish.
Hey.
That go
I heard
into
that.
the Bajan
I heard
culture.
that. I heard that.
I just don't want to bring it up on this podcast, but I just want you to know. I want you to know that.
I'm going to say nothing
That
about
your
that.
favorite dish is Trinidad. I just had to put that out there.
All right. So as we look in the wrap up, that's the last question. What I would ask you guys seem to be very well traveled and into the Caribbean culture as it relates to carnival and fetes. Where, in your opinion, has the best carnival? It doesn't have to be from the Caribbean, but anywhere that you would have went, had fun, and in your experience, you think is the best carnival. Give us a top 3.
Ooh, that one's very, very hard. The reason it's hard is because different places have different experiences.
Right.
And I pull away different things from different places. So...
But you must have a rating. You must have a... Okay, let's just say, yeah.
In no particular order.
All right, give it in no particular order.
I would say Trinidad Carnival.
First.
No particular order. What I have to say Barbados. Crop over. I have to say, because not Carnival, crop over.
Yeah, I was going to say crop
I'd say
over.
crop over. Or Kuduman. And then the last one is Notting Hill.
Nothing else.
Yeah, those for me, those 3.
Notting Hill is a whole different beast of its own. I don't even know that you can necessarily put it as a carnival. It's its own.
Would you say it's the biggest though?
I think it's based in Europe.
In Europe.
It is,
Yeah.
for sure. It's the biggest in Europe. But
Okay.
no, actually, Notting Hill Carnival, and I don't think we talk about this enough. Do you know how much money it makes for the borough? Do you know how much money it made this year alone?
Nope, I didn't look
Take
into
a
it.
That's probably why they're not trying to... That's probably why they're not entertaining. They canceling.
I like to look at these information. Just take a wild guess.
100 million?
100 million.
Okay.
There's no Glastonbury. There's no football event. There's no... All those things are paid for. Notting Hill's a free event
Yeah, it is.
that makes 100 million. And I just want people to remember that, who are maybe not carnivalistas, but want to look at Notting Hill. It makes a shed ton of money for the surrounding community, of which are paid for their suffering. So they'd be aight. You know?
So what's your top 3?
Oh God. Well,
And
I
give
have
us it in
some-
order. Give us it in
I
order.
have a little caveats with mine. I
Go
want
on.
to say the title for like best carnival is actually open right now. Like, carnivals are coming up. hard
Okay,
and fast,
okay,
things are
okay.
changing.
All right.
But what I will say is, in the years of like the last early 2000s, right up until I want to say like just before COVID, you could not touch Trinidad when it came to experience, especially the early 2010, so like 2012, 2013. I don't know if you were there, but if you weren't there, I am so sorry. But it was a beautiful time.
I'll be there for the next one.
And that's the thing with carnivals is they change over the years, right? And then for me, best Juve is Grenadians have it. Spice Mass has it.
Right.
Juve is unreal. And then I, as a Tobagonian, we build in our new little October carnival. I wasn't sure about the October, but I'll be attending this year.
So now you have to write February, August and October.
And you know, I really want to go and see how the Jamaicans do their thing too, and that's in April. So I don't believe in cutting expenses. I believe in earning more money. And
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So that's my plan.
So your top 3 is Trinidad, Grenada,
Yeah.
and Tobago.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Well, we used to do Tobago when we were growing up. I mean, because Tobago is so small, you have that. You start in town, you end up in Crown Point, and it's just it's nothing like finishing your carnival in the sea. Like it's nothing.
Oh,
like
finish it in the sea.
Yeah, like when you. Well,
Yeah, wash off. Yeah,
it depends how each person chooses to finish. How me and my squad choose to finish, we finish.
Yeah. No, that sounds like fun because after that tiredness,
it's nothing like
that water they're gonna bring it back.
Yeah, it's nothing sweeter than that.
I hear it. For me, I'm not a big carnival partaker, but I've experienced the Germany, the Berlin. I've done Miami.
How did you find Miami?
It was all right. I've done the Notting Hill, but in order, I would say for fets, I mean, 1 or 2 fets that I go in Trinidad, I have a great time. I'm not the type of person that hits every fet. Like I'm sure what you guys do. I probably pick one and that's it, one and done, right? But I mean, from my experience, I would put Notting Hill number 1. I'll put Trinidad after, and then I'll put Miami. That is the 3 carnivals that I've ever been to. Why I say Notting Hill is because the vibes was really good the last time that I went, and I've never seen so many people in one space before.
Yeah,
right. That's why in my mind I think like that's the biggest carnival I've ever seen because it's so much people that year. It's so much people, so much walking. It's like I remember my footsteps was like about 20,000 that particular day because the amount of walking.
Yeah.
So
mine was around the same.
Yeah. So that's my ratings.
That's a good rating, I think.
Yeah.
I did never hear really with Notting Hill coming first for anything.
Well, there we go.
But look how much money it making. It must be doing something. It must be doing something. But I've seen the controversy where they're arguing about how the dark side of it.
Yeah, there is a very dark side.
Interesting. I've never seen anybody, even on the blogs. I've never seen anybody. The Caribbean blogs that we have, even the UK blogs. I've never seen them mention how much money it makes.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I'm a nosy person.
Yeah.
And I was peed off. I was really irritated after this year's carnival. So, because of some of the discourse. So I was like, no, I'm going to go. Because all of this stuff is public record. It's not hard to find. You just have to know where to look.
Where to look, yeah.
And I just wanted to look at, I actually was going initially to look at what suppliers, like who had won the tenders for like security and cleanup. I wanted to know what companies were in charge of that for personal reasons. But
we should talk about that.
Yeah. I wanted to know. I was curious. And then I just came across some other, because you can access the council website, and it's Westminster Council, and all of Westminster's billings are public. And if you know where to look, you can see very clearly there's a sort of a specific check section for what Notting Hill makes for Westminster. And it's 100 million. I was shocked. I thought it would be more towards half of that. I actually thought that was quite a lot. But when you think about that, money also includes what these companies, like for instance, who does the security, the cleaning, the stewarding, what they make as well, which is nowhere near it's not even near the million, let alone the 100 million. So this is all public money. And so part of why I was looking at it is because there's a lot of discussion with like what money goes back to the bands, what money goes back to the people at the grassroots who are keeping this carnival alive. Because carnival, as we all know, is year-round.
Yeah.
So what is happening to all those people who are working on it, January to August and never stopping? And I think I'm still in the middle of this where we have no definitive answers, but it's definitely a conversation we got to start having more, which is like we're making so much public money is being made. All of this money is untaxable. So what of that money goes back to the Carnival Village Trust and the NHC and
to help the growth
committee
of the
to
culture?
Help the growth. And also to help the bands, we need more security at Notting Hill. The entire responsibility of that is on the bands and the bands alone. But yet, you wouldn't know, but for people who are like, want to know, Westbourne Park Station is a station that is open in the middle of the route, right before judging. It's almost like a sort of purposeful intent to screw up the route. And so my question just becomes, well, where is the money going to support the bands, to support them with security? Because there's only so much they can do. And we need more security. We've been going to Notting Hill for over a decade, and it gets more and more dangerous every year. It's great having that many people in a space until one of them get vexed. And then it's a crush, and then it's Astroworld all over again, which can happen in the blink of an eye.
And then
when
it rests the entire culture there.
And the entire culture is at risk. And that is why you will see every year these really passionate conversations going on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, because there's this big gap between the people who come, the people who participate, which are those of us who pay thousands of pounds to be part of the day, and we stand up next to the same guy who paid nothing to come in here today.
And then they're in the madness.
And they're in the madness next to me. And it's not like Trinidad. Like if I have a big backpack and I'm in Trinidad and I walk through, Smalley will move to the side and know I pay big money to be here, you know, and give me a little pack. That won't happen in Notting Hill. So things get dynamics are complicated. That in itself is room for podcast of its own. It's a whole